Have you heard about this personal and professional podcast?
Coaching in Session
with your host, Michael Rearden.
Christmas is here. I hope you got the gift that you were looking for and that you were waiting for, maybe even all year. Have you been a good boy? Have you been a good girl? And I can only hope that you have been the best person that you could be. Sometimes it's not only about our behavior that we need to be looking at during these naughty and nice type of seasons and mentalities, but rather, have you been ambitious? Have you been consistent? Have you been a person that has been hungry for change in their life? Not just worrying about what other people think about them. Because yes, we can be on the naughty list and it doesn't necessarily mean anything. And it was funny because someone had said the other day to me, they were like, Michael, you are on my naughty list. And they used the S word. And I said, well, that's my favorite place to be. And of course, they laughed and they said, yeah, I'm just joking and stuff like that. Because number one, when you get a negativity and you embrace it, oh man, the person doesn't even know what to do because they're expecting a different type of outcome. What tends to happen is if you are going to step into that negativity, you find more power in that. So today is a day full of power that is going to be left untapped. We as parents, for example, you might have put some Santa Claus gifts under the tree and things like that. And it could be a good thing, right? I don't know if lying to your kids is a good thing, but it could be something that later on, when they're older, they might say, you know what? Mom and dad worked so hard that they helped me believe in this idea, this dream of Santa Claus. When it comes to like mindset and like what is the right way to do it, I would say it's personal preference. If you want your kid to believe in the Tooth Fairy, cool. If you want them to believe in Santa Claus, if you want them to believe in the boogeyman, all of this is fine, right? It's all helping the imagination. But the imagination doesn't necessarily need a lie. What we need is a bit of truth. And if you are a person that is trying to get more truth from their children and their lives, then you have to basically look at today as another opportunity for the family to come together. Very similar to how we had on Thanksgiving, where we would come together, we would eat. Today is just a little bit different because we now have a day when we're coming in and we're sharing gifts, not only sharing different plates and different foods. So we can still have the foods, of course, because typically, what is Christmas without having Christmas dinner or a Christmas meal? There is something you have to look at beyond the food, beyond the gifts. And that is our winding down the year. We are going to be presented with another choice, a conundrum, if you would call it that. What are we going to do for the next 365 days? Of course, we're going to be talking about that a little bit more as we go on in the coming up episodes. But today is a good day to relish in the fact that you might be around loved ones and maybe you are in a bad situation and you are not around loved ones. What do? Do you decide to stay in that circumstance or do you decide to say, hey, I'm going to change this? Of course, everyone's going to have different struggles. I know right now, people are struggling to pay the bills. They're struggling to keep a roof over their heads, food in the bellies. It seems like an uphill battle. What I will say is many people, they do not know how to invest in themselves. They don't know how to give themselves an embrace of learning and investing in themselves long term versus like, well, this is going to be something that is going to make me feel good short term. And of course, the short term is nice for right now, but we're looking at the long term. So I think back at when I was a teacher and We had all the Christmas stuff and we're in the season, it's Christmas music. And I didn't want anything to do with Christmas. Number one, because as a music teacher at the time, I was like not into it because I had to listen to Christmas music for literally 3 months or something along those lines since October. So it's like October, November, and December Christmas music. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like this is too much. I know when people say, like, when is the right time to play Christmas music? It's after Thanksgiving. So you get a month of it. Is too much of a good thing bad? Well, clearly with Christmas music, it was. And I know many people, when they start to hear Mariah Carey singing and all this Christmas music and Frosty the Snowman, and people almost skip Halloween and they say, you know what? Who cares about Halloween? Who cares about Thanksgiving? Let's get straight into Christmas. So we have these holidays, these events, these days, we can call them whatever we want. We have to ask ourselves, why the focus on Christmas? Why not the focus on maybe Easter or our birthday or Halloween or New Year's, right? It seems like we're always jumping the gun to get to something better. Well, we have to do the work in order to get to the places that we want to get to, right? December 25th is going to be a day that is going to be there, but we have to work our way up to it. And I remember, like, when I was younger, we were getting close to Christmas. It was like almost like time slowed down. And I was like, I can't believe time is slowing down this much because I'm just waiting for Christmas so I can see what I got. We got so many gifts from our parents, and our parents, definitely, sacrificed to get all of us gifts and things along those lines. When people are like, living paycheck to paycheck and they're scraping pennies from the sofas at the time because we still use change and cash and stuff like that. So there's many quarters in the sofa. Today, if you look at my sofa, you might be lucky to find a nickel or a dime or a quarter because we have like a piggy bank that we will have for any like spare change. So we just don't have spare change falling out of our pockets. But when we wanted some candy, when we wanted something from the store, if we needed some dog food because we didn't have any dog food for the dog, we would look in the sofas. And sure enough, even if we looked at it the day before, the next day, it was like someone or something or our parents provided for us, and unknowingly so. So the money was just falling out of their pockets. Also, when it comes to the Christmas aspect, kindness was falling out of their pockets where they wanted to give us the best type of lifestyle. But let me tell you, they did not spare any expense when it came to discipline, where if on that day, I remember quite a bit, you would have the good moments and they will laugh and you would get the gifts that you wanted. It seems like, that was nice. But what happened after is like reality came back so quick, where I remember I wasn't really good in school. So I would get a bad grade on a test or something. And sure enough, my parents are like, you need to go study or you're not dumb. And why are you getting bad grades? And we went to a Catholic school. So they would make you take the test home and get it signed. And I saw it a little bit in the public schools, but it wasn't so much big thing. Versus like in Catholic schools, it seems like you better go tell your parents. Now everything is remote. So a parent can easily see all of the grades right online, right from their phone. They get a notification. Bing, I got a notification. Let me see if I'm going to love my child today or be upset with my child today. And we forget that we do all these things to sacrifice for our children. We get them all of these things, all of our time. It just seems like, what takes priority, right? Learning, education, getting a letter mark on the grade, it might be significant to you. The reality is, what is more important? Your child's well-being and their growth, regardless of what they have under the tree or what they are playing with. For example, my kid, he has too many toys. Like he has, I don't know how many cars. He's infatuated with cars. So, the other day he was like filling up a dump truck because he has a dump truck. And he was filling it up with all the little Hot Wheel cars. And I'm thinking in my mind, we need to stop buying him stuff because he just has all of these toys. And it's not so much of the toys that we do it for, to allow him to continue to look at all of the different resources he has around him and then allow his imagination to run wild. This is why we do it. We don't do it because we're trying to spoil him and things like that. Like, we haven't bought a toy in quite a bit. The things that we do buy him are going to be things that will last a very long time. For example, when we were younger, we had a Power Wheels, and it was a red one. It's like a Corvette. It was at my grandma's house, and for some reason, the thing was like never charged. So we would go on the road, and it's so funny because you can't do this today. We would take the Power Wheels from the basement, and we would go on the road, and my brother, my sister, and myself, two of us would sit inside, and then one of us would push, and we would take turns pushing up and down the road. No cops were called. No parents said, oh, look at these kids playing on the sidewalk so close to the street. None of that ever happened because we live in a different time. What I do want to say is very close to how children are raised today, because this Christmas episode is not only about looking at how we need to be appreciative to what we have, and we need to look at all the gifts we're buying them, if it's a good thing, if it's not a good thing, but how our life has changed and how we are affecting our children's lives. So I'm not sure if many people have realized this, but there's not many people or many children outside today. You go to the parks are empty. Of course, on the weekends, you might get an influx of kids, but I remember after school, I'm riding my bike to the park, and I'm riding my bike up and down the street. I'm playing with people, football and things like that. That was my life. But today, you would be hard pressed to, see kids playing outside. And if you do, it's very rare. And it's not that we don't have kids. They're all around. It's just that the way we view the mindset for children today is, let's keep them safe. Let's keep them indoors. So the toys that you bought your child, right? Is it a toy that is going to help them be inside, or is it going to be a toy that's going to help them be outside? Well, I guess you can strap on a projector in the yard and, get a screen or something, or put it on the side of the house and plug up the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox, whatever it is. Sure, right, they're outside playing, but is that the playing that they need? Because we have learned and have become to know that children need more playtime. They need uninterrupted play. And something we're doing new here for Reven Concepts is we're creating a play perspective. And basically, the play perspective is an opportunity for kids to come and play uninterrupted 2 hours. And then also for parents to come, especially if you're in an area, for the parents to come and to ask questions, whether it be life coaching, relationship, career, whatever, right? Feel free. The floor is yours. It's almost like a mastermind, but for parents. The way we're going to do it is more in line with how can we all give. It's almost like a potluck, because my kids are still young, right? I want my kid to develop properly. I need to do two things, right? One, get a farm and some farm animals. And then two, surround them with kids who are able to play and who are older than them, who can teach them and nurture the fun play aspect of childhood. I was doing some reading, and they did a research on children who are under 3 and they are living, or they have animals. They like live on a farm or something, or a barn or whatever. Like there's chickens and there's goats and there's cows, whatever. If the child is under 3 years old and is interacting with these animals, that child has a significant reduction in the likelihood that they are going to get any type of allergies in their life. What in the world is this, right? How does this happen, right? Well, I'm going to tell you how it happens. It's that we are letting them go outside. For example, my kid, he loves to play in the dirt. The other day, he got bit by some fire ants. Hey, I told him, I said, hey, there's going to be some ants there and there's some fire ants. So be careful when you're outside playing. Well, sure enough, he got bit. He's okay, right? Fire ant doesn't do too much damage. Now, if you get swarmed and you have like a bunch of fire ants on you, it could be a bad deal, right? But I'm right there watching him. So he had to learn it's almost like, don't touch the stove. The stove is hot. And of course, you don't want them to get hurt. But if they need to touch that hot pan for a second, say, oh, like I'm not going to do it. Caveman and fire, right? The first caveman who, put his hand in the fire was like, ow, that hurt. He didn't put his hand back in the fire, right? We learn. But the problem is we are not learning. We are learning how to use iPads better. We're learning how to maybe, play with Barbies or whatever, or a bunch of cars or whatever, right? Like we are learning technology, but the problem with technology is that it's making us antisocial. Because you might think that on Xbox Live or on PlayStation multiplayer, whatever they have, you might think like, oh, well, they're talking to people, they're interacting. It is not the same. It's almost like if you are in a long distance relationship. Yes, you are in a relationship. You might talk every single day. But if you had someone who was present with you that you can touch, that you can hug, that you can love, you're going to feel a deeper connection with that person, not the person who's 1,000 miles away. Now, of course, you can make long distance relationships work, but it's more challenging, especially when it comes to the relationships that we are holding with our children, because we are giving them phones and stuff for Christmas. And hey, if you're one of those parents that gave your kid a phone, you better make sure that they're 16 or older. If they are not 16, that phone should be a flip phone. It should have no access to the internet. It should have basic texting, and it should just be able to call you and maybe even have minutes. So like you get a prepaid card and they have minutes, they have to learn responsibility. They do not need to be on that phone. Also, another thing you need to be watching out for is laptops or computers in their room or gaming systems in their room. The last thing you want is to put a device in their room before they're ready to have the responsibility to understand that they must be a member of the family. Because today is the day when we are all together, we're all happy, we're all eating together, we're all opening gifts together, but then somewhere, somehow, we take those gifts and we go in our little hole, we go in our room, we go in our cubby, we go in our little area. From that time, we are learning that, okay, I'm going to take something and then I'm going to walk away. What happens when that child is an adult? They're going to come, maybe eat at the house or something. If they're not living there, they're going to walk away. Maybe they don't text you, or maybe they don't call you. It's almost like you are out of sight, out of mind. Now, they say after 10, you are no longer your child's best friend. They have new best friends, they have boyfriends, they have girlfriends, they have teachers and coaches. That is going to take a hold of, your number one spot in their eyes. But it doesn't mean it has to end. Statistically, after 10, they look for someone new. But if you remain that person that was that strong, significant factor in their life, they are going to be more likely to be there when it might seem like they don't need to be there. Dad's sick. Let me, make sure everything's good. Let me, pick up the slack. Let me take out the trash. Mom's sick. Let me wash the dishes. Let me do some cooking. All of these things happen when you are properly engaging the child in what it is like to be a member of the family. And that is what I wanted this episode to be today. Of course, we have members of our family, right? We buy them gifts. And I remember when I was young, we would have a Christmas fair, and you would be able to go buy certain things from the Christmas fair. And this is at a Catholic school. So there's a lot of like Catholic stuff and statues. And it was so funny because one time I wanted to buy a statue, and it was like a little hanging statue of like Mary and Jesus. I wanted to buy just one. For some reason, one of the statues was like $8 or something like that. And I was like, whoa, $8. I was like, how much for two? and he was like 10 or something, or maybe even 5. I forget. But it was a bargain. I'm thinking in my mind, why in the world am I going to buy one? Let me buy two. So I got 2 people off my list, and I would always have a list of things I needed to buy people. So I would get my mom something, my dad something, my brother something, my sister something. And I mean, I wasn't really a good gift giver to like my siblings because I didn't know what they want. I remember I got my brother stickers one year, and he was like, "Oh, great! What am I gonna do with some stickers?" So definitely, as I was able to grow up, he got better gifts later on. In the beginning, it was like, well, it's the thought that matters, I thought. And it was so funny because the way I bought the gifts was by priority. So like my grandma got a gift and my mom got a gift, or my grandma's got gifts and then my mom got a gift. And then I started to look at things for my dad, but then, he was pretty hard to shop for. And then of course, any money left was for my brother and my sister. And then we would maybe even go into my cousins or my aunt, uncle, stuff like that. And then you also need a teacher, but then your parent typically gets the teacher's gift. So I'm so focused on, my list of things that people need versus looking at my list and appreciating each of those people. Now, of course, my gift can be an appreciation for them, but a gift is something that can be lost. It could be broken, right? Maybe you get something that's like a tattoo. I don't know, but you have to look at this idea of we have our people that we admire right now. Somewhere down the line is almost like that dissipates and it kind of like settles down, like the sand or the dust settles. So now everything is just like, all right, everything is clear, everything is cool. And we don't pay attention to those people unless something happens to them, right? A death, somebody gets sick, maybe even a new holiday, right? A birthday, Thanksgiving, we're going over, we're doing things, Christmas again. We start to pay attention. What I would like for, people to incorporate into this Christmas is a mindset that, well, I'm not trying to give my children, I'm not trying to give my family an outlet to not be part of the family. So the gift that you give them, yes, they might be so happy they have this laptop. They might be so happy they have this PlayStation. They might say, Dad, I love you. Mom, I love you. Grandma, I love you. Dad, Grandpa, I love you. Auntie, uncle, cousin, I love you. Whoever it be, right? What does that bring long term? It's going to create more stress for them, more anxiety for them, maybe bring about some negativity. Of course, it's going to create more distractions because when I was in school and I had to go to school and I had to go learn and I didn't want to be in school, the only thing I daydreamed about was going home and playing Ninja Turtles and video games. But of course, I was more interested in playing with my friends outside and riding my bike than I was playing video games. Now, of course, if it was raining or something, sure, we'll play some games and stuff like that. But today is like almost like the culture of a screen. I'm going to be behind a screen. I'm going to watch a screen. I'm going to flick a screen all day long. And we fail to pay attention. So there's many things that we can do today on this day of Christmas. We can unite as a family, but then we can also make a promise that regardless of our gifts, we're going to do our best to reconvene once a week, maybe every other week, or maybe once a month. It depends on your family dynamic. If you need more coaching, if you need more family time, and you're not creating family time at ideal times like dinner, driving, etc., then you will need more time during the week or during the month. If you are a person that has no idea how to do this, I recommend to ask someone who has their kids, in family time, all kind of planned out. Homeschooling parents typically have this pretty good where they understand schedules really well. It's just that, when we send our kids off to school or parents send off their kids to school, they rely so much on the school schedule and their work schedule. But on that day when they have Christmas, typically Christmas is a holiday, so Christmas is off, kids are off, things along those lines. So they're trying to figure out things on the fly. You can manage things pretty well when you have the time, but many people are losing the aspect of time because they're trading their time for more money to buy more things for their kids or buy more things for themselves or for their loved one. And of course, gifts can be a love language, but you do have to ask yourself, what type of behavior and mindset are you creating long term? If you are struggling with the aspect of family, I encourage you to reach out to us, Reven Concepts. Get yourself a consultation. I have worked with many families, and I even have families who are very religious and they have requests to incorporate religion into the coaching. We can be as flexible as you need it to be for your family, because the reality is many children are being lost to technology. It's causing severe amount of depression and anxiety and stresses that don't need to be there. You mean so well by buying them so many gifts and so many games and things like that. But you should be, if you do want to get them things that are going to get them outside. Get them a baseball, buy a mitt, a baseball bat, a fishing rod, something along those lines. Of course, you can pair that with your PlayStation or with the Xbox or with a Nintendo Switch or, one of the handheld things, right? Of course, set up rules and limitations and expectations, but then also create the room to make time, especially when they're younger. Because like I said, at some point, they're not going to want to be your best friend. So enjoy this, 0 to 10 type of thing, because typically around 11, 12, they're already not believing in Santa Claus already. So they know it's coming from you. And if they expect it, because they have been expecting gifts for the past 10, 11, 12 years, whatever, it's not the same appreciation. I'm expecting to get a gift. I'm getting a gift because I know you care. I know you sacrifice. It's a very different mindset than we're living in today, where it's it's the price of privilege. It's like, I'm going to get this because I work so hard, because I have been good. You remember what I said? Have you been naughty or nice? And everyone is going to say they've been nice, but they have been living very naughtily. They have not been doing the work. They have not been doing the actions. They have not been taking care of themselves or their family or doing their part in all aspects of life and the world even. Let's start to switch what Christmas truly means. Of course, we can give Christmas the religious notion of what Christmas is, or we can look at the Hallmark way of what Christmas is and about gift giving and buying stuff and spending time with family, even if it is brief. So I want everyone to enjoy this day, enjoy this week, and get ready to get a jump start on the new year with a full sprint ahead. And do not let your gifts or this moment of pleasure be an anchor that's stopping you from achieving more and reaching more in your life today.